A-T. It's in the name.
Think your team has what it takes to survive the ultimate dodgeball showdown? Join us Saturday, August 15th at Mars Hill Bible School in Florence, Alabama for the Staying Alive Dodgeball Tournament, benefiting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Grab your friends, build your team, and compete for a great cause while helping kids and families fighting childhood cancer. Whether you're in it to win it or just for the laughs, this is one event you don't want to miss. Team spots are filling fast, so register today at benandtravis.com. That's benandtravis.com, where you can stay alive, dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Welcome into Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Westgate Church of Christ in Dothan, Alabama. That is All-Pro counselor Ben Hayes with Mars Hill Bible School, Highland Park, Three-Chord Counseling, all the good stuff, and we're coming to you. We're on Memorial Day, and we recorded one episode talking about the ways in which we celebrate Memorial Day and some things that kind of bring up the memories and thinking about people who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect freedom in the world and keep the value of liberty alive. And we're going to pick up on that a little bit as we kind of get ready for D-Day, which I think, it's kind of difficult. I think maybe we're tending to not remember that as much as we should, and even maybe more so in December for Pearl Harbor. But it's alive and well here in the Ben and Travis universe for sure. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, with vacations coming up and people having time off, we'll talk about some of the benefits of that. So, Ben, which one of those you want to jump on first, man?
Well, I think it might be helpful because, our kids, I think for the most part, people know Memorial Day is, they know what, the patriotic holidays are, but some of my kids are like, what's the difference in, what exactly does this all mean? And so I kind of explained it to them this morning. So, just a reminder that Memorial Day is specifically for those who died in their service to the country. It's remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We oftentimes celebrate it with different things, whether that's going to the cemetery or, flags or ceremonies of some sort, people who do things like the MRF or whatever. There's things that people do to celebrate it. So that's one of the things. Then you have, your Veterans Day, which kind of celebrates all veterans, all those who have served our military, both living and past, but it's certainly it's a time to honor those who are currently still living. So many times we talk about, as preachers, we talk about a lot of times at funerals, it'd be nice if we honored people like this before they died. If we told them some of the things that we appreciate about them before that happens. And so
As Go Rest High plays in the background.
That's what?
Go Rest High plays in the background.
Yes. Yeah. And so, it's good for us to, remember the ones who have served, still living with us. Memorial Day is one specifically to remember those who have given their life for us. And then, of course, Independence Day is a little different, and it just celebrates our
250th, man.
Yeah,
250th.
That's crazy to think about, but 250th birthday this year on July the 4th, so it won't be long before we're also celebrating that. And so, those are the main ones. There's a lot of other ones that sometimes come up, remembrance days, whether it's Pearl Harbor or like you were talking about, June the 6th, the D-Day is another one. And I think you said a lot of times we don't remember it as much. And I think part of that is there's so few of those men and women left. I saw something, I think today, and I assume it was a recent, but it said it was a 106-year-old man was one of the last living of those who were at D-Day, I think. And then I saw something else of two older gentlemen that got to meet up, and it might have been an older video, but it was these two gentlemen who had fought on Iwo Jima together. And they let them meet up, and they were talking about it. And there's just so few of those heroes that fought in World War II It's starting to be that way even with Korea. There's a lot fewer, but there are still some, and even our veterans from the Vietnam conflict are starting to get older. It's an older generation now. And when we were kids, it was like there were probably still some people from World War I. There were certainly people from World War II. A lot of our heroes were World War II vets, and now it's more, that's kind of for our kids. It's more probably the Vietnam and even into Desert Storm and some of those guys.
Well, last time I talked about the capacity of conviction, and I think on this one, the capacity to keep going. You see, speaking of the Murph that you did, and there are people out there who do things like that every single day. To be ready, they're kind of broken down, built back up by their instructors, those people who have authority over them, and they're taught on how to just overcome adversity. And I think we talked about movies. I think you're going to bring up some things here in a little bit as long as those, but that's kind of the impressive thing, just the never quit. And I think that's something that, although neither one of us served in the military, growing up and having those people that you could talk to, that you could fellowship with at church or in family reunions, just impressed upon us really the never quit. Just never give up, just keep going. And I think that's the thing that's just the capacity, the human capacity that I obviously believe God gave us to overcome adversity, to be content. You talked about some of the Korean being in the cold, and then you think about Vietnam being in the heat, and we've seen in the movies the D-Day landing and stuff like that. We're like, just the willingness or the capacity. I mentioned some were drafted, maybe they didn't volunteer. Today we live in the volunteer. People are volunteering to serve, but just the human capacity to take the hits, take the uncomfortable, and become comfortable in the uncomfortable is just overwhelming.
Yeah, and it is wild because you mentioned the Murph, and it's for Michael Murphy, who died in battle, and it was a workout. It was one of his favorite workouts, and I'm like, I'm not even close to being able to do it at probably the time that he did it, and what a lot of other people can do it. But it's really wild that that was just his workout to be prepared for those moments. And I think Josh sent us something in a text this morning, and he said, just remember, when you feel like you don't have anything left, you've still got like 70% in the tank, which is crazy. Yeah. But that's true. I mean, there's so many times that we go, I can't go any further. And how many people have thought that or said that, and then somehow they've pushed through. And these guys at D-Day who were still storming the beach with, they lost an arm, or they lost, a leg, and they're still trying to fight and trying to do what they can do. And, many of them wearing bullets for the rest of their life. If they survived it, they went home and, carried them in their body for the rest of their life. My wife's grandfather was that way. He carried from the Battle of the Bulge. He had a bullet that was lodged up near his heart that they couldn't remove because it was too close to him, and he lived for years with that bullet sitting in his heart or next to his heart. So, those sorts of things, the capacity that the humans have to be able to endure and to be able to push through. And so a lot of times when you've been through, like we've talked about your cancer journey, like somebody goes, hey, when you hear the word cancer, that's devastating, but you push through and you go, hey, I'm going to keep pushing it. I'm going to keep doing what I can do. And you manage to do that. And not that everybody is able to survive it, but there's been a lot of people who haven't survived it have pushed through and given it a good fight. And And that's the way it was, with so many who've lost their lives. And so we just appreciate them for doing that. We appreciate them for giving us the freedom that we can sit here, say what we want to say, hang out on Memorial Day, do other stuff. And so I'm just very thankful for them. And one of the things I like to do on Memorial Day, I haven't done it yet today because I was busy doing other stuff, but I like to listen to music. I like to listen to patriotic music. Music is one of my favorite things. So for you, what would be one of those patriotic songs that really speaks to you, Travis?
There are so many, Ben. So many.
I have a whole playlist, so I agree with you.
Yeah, and I've recently given up Apple Music, so it all went bye-bye. It makes me kind of sad. I thought I might get to keep it, but man, that 8th of November song is one. Good. And I don't even like Big and Rich, to be honest. I don't have any more of their songs on my phone. That one's a good one. That makes me emotional, and I have no attachment other than being an American. But that one, just the close-knit of those band of brothers, and now sisters, of course. Just emotional. That one gets me going to think about people who lay their life down for people they don't even know.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. I'm having trouble remembering the names of some of them, but I can hear certain lyrics in my mind. Of course, I don't like all of the things that he said, but Toby Keith had some really good ones. Yeah. Especially the one talking about the soldiers and what they go through, and that they have bills that they can't pay, but they get up anyway and they do the things that they need to do, and and they do it for the people who are at home so that they can sleep in safety at night, and so Toby Keith's got some good ones about that. There's been some others that I've just really loved.
John Michael Montgomery, Letters from Home. That last verse hit, and I'm out. There's times where I change the channel because I can't handle it. I change the radio station because I'm like,
yeah, that's a good one. And even it's a little bit sappy, and now listening to it. Used to, we really loved it. Kenya loves what's it name? Riding with what is it? It's not Colonel Malone, but something. It's that.
Yeah, I was going to say that one. I couldn't remember the name of it either. So that's good.
Private Malone. That's what it is. Riding with Private Malone. And it's kind of a little bit cheesy, but it's like, man, there's a lot of truth to that. That there's a lot of guys that went over there and they had their cars or whatever that were here, and they were sold, or somebody else was driving. There's another newer one where it's his brother, and he doesn't make it home, and he goes riding in his truck. I drive your truck, I think that's the name of it. And he's kind of like, that's the way that one gets me. Like you said, with the letters to home, it's like one of those, here's this brother that lost his brother overseas, and he's, drives the truck, and the hat's still on the dash and all that stuff. It's like, man. It's just, there's so many of them, and I think that's why we listen to them. It's to help us remember there's a bunch of people who've given the ultimate sacrifice. So.
Yeah, and the gratefulness, I think, if I could pick one aspect of these holidays that are remembrance days that we could carry through the rest of the year, if we could just have that attitude, gratitude, to remember to be thankful, I think that changes. And when I spoke at Riverside's graduation this week, and that was one of the things I challenged them: give me 3 weeks of waking up every day, and as your feet hit the floor, think of something to be thankful, because it is just a game changer. That there's gonna be things today that's not gonna go my way, but I have the freedom to go and do things that may not go my way today.
Yeah.
And I have the life to experience it. And as bad as it may get, and we both have had our low moments, we can still be grateful, especially as a believers in Jesus, we can always be thankful in every circumstance, which is the will of God. And that can be something that spreads light. We try to do that on this podcast, show the overcoming capacity of human beings, especially those indwelled by the Holy Spirit. So, big news from Heritage Christian University. Colin Ray is coming to the 2026 Heritage event. Join us Saturday, August 22nd at the beautiful Renaissance Shoals Conference Center for an unforgettable evening with one of country music's most recognizable voices. Sing along to classic hits like Love Me and That's My Story from the 10-time Male Vocalist of the Year nominee with 16 #1 hits. General admission tickets are just $75 and table sponsorships are available now. Don't miss this incredible night supporting Heritage Christian University. Get your tickets today at hcu.edu. That's hcu.edu.
I know you're a big avid reader, right? So you love to read. What is a book that you recommend, or multiple books you recommend on, kind of this patriotic theme that we're talking about?
There is a book, and there's a series of books, and they're all this and this, and it's kind of combinations of things that you wouldn't necessarily put together. But Thomas Jefferson and the Triple E Pirates, I think, is the name. And I think, and I may be wrong, and I'm sure I'll get corrected if I am, I think that is the beginning of the Marines. And there are these pirates that are ransacking American merchant ships, and so they send these ships in, and they handle business on these pirates. And Thomas Jefferson he's president, and he's not really a Navy guy. He's not really wanting to do a Navy thing, and it kind of forces his hand. But just reading the stories of those guys who were the originals, and the things that they had to do, and just kind of getting things started, things that we take for granted, just being there, that the Navy exists and they do these things. That's a really good one. And then there's the Killing series by Bill O'Reilly. That's not all patriotic, but there are a couple of books in there. There's Killing England, which is about the Revolutionary War and kind of the inside stuff about George Washington. Also in the vein of the Thomas Jefferson one that I was talking about, there's George Washington and the Secret Six, and it's basically his spies, and the history of that. So it's pretty cool.
I really do need to read some of those. I know those are great. But yeah,
and those are fairly quick reads too. So they're not the Team of Rivals, Abraham Lincoln's Political Genius, which is like 800 pages, so.
I've listened to a couple. There was one called Frozen in Time, and it was about some planes that went down in Greenland, I think it was, and the different attempts to find those planes. And then years later, so it takes place like in World War II, but it's like it's telling the story of what happened in World War II, and it goes back and forth from that to the time, like recent days, where they're using technology to find these planes that have been buried in ice. It's a great one. There's one, trying to remember what the name of it is. It's about the Chosin Reservoir in Korea, and I can't remember the title of it, but it was a really great listen on it too. So I'm a listener of books. I like podcasts. If you have not listened to the D-Day, The Tide Turns podcast, then I would really encourage you to do that this week. It is incredible, and it's like an 8 or 9 part series, and it goes into every angle of it, the planning of it, the execution of the ones on the beach, the people who went in ahead of the beach landing in gliders and parachuted, and the airplane pilots and the nurses and like everybody. So, and even from the German standpoint, each episode is a different angle, and it's really incredible to kind of see the full story. I'll probably go back and listen to it again.
There's an X account, our Twitter account, that live tweets World War II. And so it goes through like the whole years. I guess it starts over at some point, but they tweet when things happened, and so that's pretty neat. I ran across that a few times, and
Yeah.
occasionally they'll have video to go with it and stuff like that. But
Wow.
it's amazing the things that people do with history, and but pretty cool stuff.
That is awesome.
Is that all your questions on that, or you got?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Okay.
we're good. I'm trying to find out. I was getting like signals. I don't know if they were ready to go, but I think we got a few minutes.
All right.
I'm trying to check and see, but
Well, Ben, we are all, hopefully we're all listening to this, heading into what most people take their vacation. I know some people wait for the rest of us to get done with vacation, and then they go in like October or something, which is probably pretty smart. But also in the Bible, there's this aspect of Sabbath, and we'll go at it from the angle because for some reason people get really upset when you mention taking the Sabbath, although we have freedom to take the Sabbath whenever we want. I'll just say that right now so people aren't getting fired up. But just kind of the importance, as a mental health professional, the importance of taking some time off, whether it's for a week of vacation, 3 days, a weekend, 20 minutes, just some of the benefits of that. As Memorial Day, you're fixing to head out, I think, and spend time with family and have some time of fun to make up for all the misery you put yourself through this morning. What are some aspects of that kind of jump off for you?
Well, I think anybody would tell you rest is important. Like stress is a part of life. Everybody's going to be stressed. I heard something earlier this week, just kind of about that. And I thought I hadn't really, I guess, put together, but it was like stress is going to be a part of life. It's always good, but you have to have rest from stress.
Yeah.
So any uninterrupted stress is going to take its toll. So, you work out, it's stress on your body. You read and you study and you cram for an exam, it's stress on your body. But there has to be a moment of rest, and God knew it, and God told us to do that. I think when God made that, rest was not considered a burden. I think sometimes we're like, oh, why do I have to rest? It's a burden. I can get so much more done, and it's like, and I've always had that attitude. I'll rest when I'm dead, but the Sabbath, the whole purpose of that was it was a gift of God to say, I know you don't want to stop, but you need to. And so
it was an identifier with God.
Yeah.
No one else was doing that. And so he commands them. Here's an identifier. This is what identifies me with you. And you trust that you don't have to work 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to take some time with your family, for yourself, whatever it was. Don't work. Don't do anything. Rest so that, and let me take care of you. I think that's another piece of it. This is an act of faith that I'm going to take care of you. In the time when they were in the wilderness, gather just what you need. And on that sixth day, gather enough for 2 days, and don't, hoard a bunch, but just gather enough that you need and trust that I'm going to take care of you. And I know those first couple of Sabbaths were probably tough. Well, how much do I need? What am I supposed to do? And he's like, you get too much, it's going to spoil,
Yeah.
So, just take what you need. Let me take care of you. And it's just that idea of the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Like, what do I need today? And so I think God designed it that way. He designed us, our muscles need rest after a workout. Our minds need a rest after a work day and after study. And even sometimes we just need rest from the craziness of life. And that was his intention all along.
Dennis Prager has a great quote, and he is a practicing Jew, ethnic and religious. And he, in his video on the Sabbath, he says, a millionaire who works 24/7, 365 is just a really rich slave. And man, that quote hits home. Not that I think you and I get caught up. Obviously, you need money to live. I don't think that you and I get caught up in the whole money aspect, although it's nice It's more about how much good can we do, and
Right.
hopefully that's the case. And another aspect is how much fun can we squeeze into something. But
That's true.
the older I get, the more it's like, hey, buddy, you need to slow down and take a day, take a half a day, take a couple of hours. And that's been a really great part in this transition and move for us, is we really tried to, and there have been weeks where we've not been good at it, but we really tried to take time to have Sabbath. Even if it's we got to do a little bit more today so that we can rest tomorrow, let's do it. And that's been a great aspect of the move so far, and just being praying that we keep that truck going. And I try to keep that in mind when I'm sending you texts going, hey, give me that Friday refresh. Hey, give me this, give me that.
I need reminders. So, but I've tried to do the same thing. That's been something over the last year or so. I've really tried to be more mindful of it is actually okay to sit here and do nothing for a few minutes. It's okay to sit here and rest my mind, rest my body, get that, trust God that, I'll get everything done. And a lot of times, most of us know this truth, but we ignore it, is a rested brain and a rested body gets more done. And one thing I learned with, we run half marathon or 5K or 10Ks, for St. Jude. I don't run the whole time. I run and walk and run and walk and run and walk. And one guy, that's his technique that he teaches. And he says the reason for that is when you get done, you're not exhausted, and you actually sometimes go about as fast as you would.
That's blown my mind.
Those of us who go slow, I guess, you go about the same speed.
Yeah.
You're trying to break the record. You're obviously not going to be able to do an interval, but your short bursts of a lot of energy and then take 30 seconds and rest, your body sort of gets the rest it needs as you go along.
Yeah.
And that's actually proven to be pretty helpful to a lot of people who run those.
I'll say, the math doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but when I do a different interval than the one I'm used to, I'm always slower somehow. Now it may be 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. It may not make that big a difference, but it's like, it just kind of blows my mind because I'll look at the math and I'm like, this should not math that way. But I don't run as fast in those 3 minutes. Yeah. If I take a shorter break, or if I run longer, I'm not running any faster because I'm like, man, I wish I could take a break longer. I'm almost dreading it. My feet get heavier for some reason, but maybe that's just me. But Ben, I appreciate it. I know you got places to be, people to see, hopefully all in a relaxing way, other than, of course, having to drive in the car with your kids, which is, maybe the opposite of relaxing. But I'm probably going to go run, probably not nearly as far as you've ran today here in a little while, but certainly want to say how much we appreciate all those who, of course, we remember those who served and given their lives, but we certainly appreciate all those who serve in whatever capacity, the country, or police officers, first responders, folks like that, who are always there willing to serve and help others in their time of need. And certainly hope everybody's safe in their travels. Ben, you have a good one, okay?
All right, you do the same. Thank you, brother.
See ya.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.